Hi, this is Regina Y. Favors with Homeless Recovery Tips. And the title is Living at Your Parents' House is Still Homeless. So I cannot stress enough the importance of encouraging you in this understanding that any house you live at where you are not on the lease or on the deed is you homeless. There's another video, another discussion about living at a friend's house, sleeping on their couch, etc. If you are not on the lease, if there isn't any claim to the property for which you are living or saying that you live there, then that means you're homeless. Only the place that you have where you are on the lease or you are on the mortgage deed or you are a roommate situation and there is um, you're on the lease, right? Then that is you not being homeless. But if you're not in that kind of situation, then you are still considered homeless, because at any time the person whose actual name is on the lease or mortgage or loan documents, anything, whose actual name is on there, that person can tell you to leave at any time. And there are some state restrictions. If you are receiving mail after a certain time, the owner, the apartment owner, person must have you evicted, which means going through the courts. So they can't just automatically pack up your things and move your things out of the house. But they can still do that in an eventual situation based upon the court ruling. Regardless, the fact that they still have that as an option should tell you that you are still considered homeless, right? You can visit any government-based resource. I think there's one, National Alliance to End Homelessness or something like that. You can rely on any government resource for the definition of homeless, to get a good understanding of it. But do keep this in mind. So as long as you are at your parents' house all the way to 18 years old and you have not left the house, then you are still under your parents' authority, right? You're still living at the house. You may be 19, 20 years old and an adult, considered an adult, and you have to maybe negotiate your time there and get a job, save some money for an apartment, but you're sort of still under that authority and you kind of have some rights there, right? Until your parent says, okay, at 18 you are considered an adult, I want you to leave. If they don't do that, technically you still may be considered an adult and you should leave. But if they don't say that, then they have not declared it in the sense that you are an adult at a certain age and you need to leave. But once you decide to leave, whatever that age is, right? Especially 18, 19, 20 years old. And then maybe some years down the road, you decide to come back because of some sort of pressing issue, life issue that you had. You lost your job. You may have to relocate, like in my case. Then when you come back, you are considered an adult for sure. There is no such thing as being, uh, there's no such thing as some sort of concession because you just graduated from high school and you still need a little bit of time to move out, to plan things like that. There is no concession after that. You moved, you stayed gone for 2 to 5 years, whether it was for college or just to get your own apartment, and then you decided to come back, or you requested to come back. Well, you are grown now. You are considered an adult. And so then when you are an adult, you should be 100% responsible for yourself as an adult. So when you step back into the context of your parents' home, that is no longer your room. That's not like your room when you were in middle school and high school and you had a room to yourself. That's not your room anymore. That is a room in the house that you are now going to have to negotiate some sort of payment of rent so that you can stay in that room. But the bed is not yours. The sheets are not yours. The pillows are not yours. The desk, the curtains, the room is not yours. The room is considered a room in the house, unless there is an agreement between you both where the parent or parents decide to create a lease agreement and you get to stay there for 3 to 6 months and you sign a lease agreement, then you definitely have rights. The parent cannot just call the police on you. The parent cannot just move all of your things out of the house. You have a lease. It's a sublease, of course, but you have a lease, and the parent has a right within their existing lease agreement, or if they own the house, to make that type of decision. So then you're still 100% an adult, but you have rights. The parent can't just easily kick you out, and now that does become your room. You're not necessarily the owner of the room because you're not owner of the house. However, you do have some um, permissions, or you do have some allowances available to you as a renter of that room on a lease with your name on the lease. Then that becomes your room. However, there are limits. The limits are 3 to 6 months. And so after 3 to 6 months, you have to renegotiate your presence in that person's house. But remember, that is no longer your house. Sure, you can come home and visit from college or from out of town, and visit and stay in that house, but you are now considered a guest, an adult guest. Now, if you are visiting, you're not going to necessarily have to pay some sort of rate like you would do at a motel, right? But you, in some ways, may contribute to the food or something like that, right? Depending upon how long you're staying. And then, of course, you're always going to have to contribute to the share in the load of maintaining the house, wash after yourself, wash the dishes, things like that, right? That's always a standard. But even just because you contribute to dishwashing, even if you contribute to cleaning up the house, even if you contribute to some food during a holiday season, even if you give a little bit of money over to your parent, uh, just out of some kind of courtesy, because if you were at a hotel, you would have to pay $100 or more per night, and so you just want to give it as a courtesy, right? Well, even if you do all those things, that still isn't your house, and that living at your parents' house is still homeless. It's still considered homeless, because if you two get into an argument, if you and your parents get into an argument, or you get in an argument with your remaining siblings at the house, you would be the one expected to leave, no doubt. Don't get it into your head that you have rights. No, you would just be expected to leave. Now again, it depends on how long you're there. But when you are at your parents' house, you need to plan from a state of setback. That's a setback. You are considered homeless, so that's a setback. So you need to put it in your mind, fix it in your understanding that I'm in a setback. This is not my house, and I need to plan. And so the job I need to give, I need to, if I need to stay with my mother for a short time, let's negotiate the rent, how much the rent would be, how much the contribution to the utilities and the friend and the food would be. And then from there, you are planning your exit. You may need 2 years, 2 full years to save the money, because you are contributing, to save the money and prepare for uh, and to prepare to make 3 times the rent, and then put down maybe a deposit or something like that concerning, um, depending upon your situation, right? But that may give you 2 years. So then you are sitting down with the owner of the house or the leaseholder of the apartment and saying, "Can I stay here for 2 years? I can pay you this rent. I can put towards food and utilities, and my goal is to save, is to make find a job that would help me to make 3 times the rent, because that is the going rate to get into an apartment. Or if the apartment requires an extra deposit, I can save that extra deposit, and then I want to be out of here in 2 years." And that's how you negotiate your time in somebody else's house, whether that's a friend's house or your own parents' house. But the most important aspect of this discussion is for you to understand that you are considered homeless even living at your parents' house. So this is Homeless Recovery Tips. Living at your parents' house is still homeless.